So I just want to thank you guys, everyone who has ever come into a join request with me and not been a disgusting ghetto piece of trash. You are appreciated. It's really wild for me to feel like I have to thank people for not showing up like ghetto garbage. That's not something that I'm used to. I find it incredibly gross and disgusting that someone would actually go out of their way, in a bonnet nonetheless, to come onto my page. Oh, and let's also talk about energy. You guys hear how I speak, right? I have so many topics now to discuss. I have the keto thing, which is like a real concern of mine. Are these people being raped? Are these people being forced to engage in eating meat and cheese? And then no bread, meaning not getting paid for doing so. That is weighing heavily on my mind. And then the second part is so my higher authority who promised me that being around that type of thing is demonic, is problematic, is bad. And then my, anti-racism campaigns are basically they're not congruent with positive outcomes, because the more anti-racist a person is, the more people show up and prove who they are, just like what just happened right now. I communicate in a way that's very articulate, educated, well-spoken, and then my energy gets intermingled with that, and what starts happening? I have no control over what just happened. Like none. I thought, oh, it's a jewelry shop? That's fucking phenomenal. Let's put them on. Let's give them some free publicity. Let's have a conversation. And then this disgusting individual begins to jump onto my page and make demands. Whoa. Sorry, honey. Maybe in your store, if I walked into her jewelry store and I said, listen to what you're gonna do. Now I'm gonna ask you, and your racist ass bitch. Do you think that she would probably put her hands on me? It's likely, depending on what she's presented to be so far, that she would probably physically attempt to assault me, and if given the opportunity. And this goes to my argument that you don't put non-predatory individuals in the same environment as predatory pieces of garbage. If people are used to handling their problems that way, keep them away from us. The rest of us who are dedicated to, and don't tell me that woman doesn't have a better path, because that woman most certainly does have a better path. She could very easily use Google or YouTube or any of the other third-party applications to teach herself some manners, period. This is not 1800 where we have to have direct access to, an influence that is kind and courteous and well-spoken. If you feel like you're suffering with a lack of articulation skills, go to the internet and look for videos that help you articulate better. If you feel like you are suffering from the lack of ... go to the internet and look for a way to fix it. Don't come on my feed and try to turn my brand into the Jerry Springer show, because that's not what it is. This is not a ghetto brand. This is not a mediocre, place to exist. This brand is about being a good person, being non-predatory, being in environments that not only consistently allow for that non-predatory type of interaction, but that does not permit that type of pursuit of an innocent individual minding their own business to be attacked like that. That is gross. You, ma'am, from whatever that store was, you are not a good person. And I hope to God that you are immediately isolated, because that's not it. That is so gross. It's just beyond the bottom level of acceptable. And so yesterday I invited for the first time an individual to jump onto my live and have a conversation with me. And I communicated very clearly, listen, this is my safe space, not yours. Your safe space is on the live on your page. You can go there and say whatever you want, but this is my page and my safe space. So if you'd like to be included in the conversation, no problem. maybe I'll say yes today and I'll include you. But in doing so, it's not for the purpose of being mistreated, abused, harmed, having lies spoken about me, or being, antagonized into something that doesn't suit my purpose. Back to the keto thing. So anyways, sorry you guys had to witness that. I don't usually speak like a ghetto piece of filth. And I've discussed this a number of times. They take over control. It's called external control, hostile takeovers. When they take over control of my free will and they force me to speak in a way that is not in alignment. And I do not encourage that, nor do I offer that as a solution for anyone. I feel as though those people should be silenced indefinitely for having that voice just in general. I feel like those people should not be permitted to communicate with the rest of society. What they have is absolutely a contagion of ignorance, filth, abuse, and it is not getting any better. And I discussed this in great detail with someone yesterday, in a more intellectual capacity. Clearly that person probably went to, maybe a suburban school district, had, proper articulation and punctuation and grammar in their cadence and tone and dialect and delivery. So I felt like I could speak to that person in a different format. And that person agreed with me that, or didn't agree with me. I made that person aware that certain political connections and affiliations have been made and continue to be used as leverage. And so for that reason, it has been deemed that certain individuals behave in a way that is a deceptive form of communication because they don't want to lose that footing or that public, association to that individual or that group or that ... fill in the blank. And so that is why I believe that since 2021, he is using that narrative with regards to the proffer agreement that he had, the things he was involved with, the deals he made with the state's attorney's office and the local law enforcement, et cetera, and so forth. And that has nothing to do with me. The only reason it keeps on overlapping with me is because when he finds himself in some sort of trouble and he doesn't have the time, energy, or desire, usually time or energy or money, to sit around explaining things, they turn to me to do it for him, and to help him with that. Now, going back to the keto diet thing, I really want to make everyone look into this further. I deserve answers. I have been trained in the field of personal training. Now, if you know anything about me, my formal background is specific to healthcare administration, medical law and ethics, et cetera, and so forth. And if you know about all of those things, then you would know that we in the United States of America have traditionally assigned the expectation for a 3-meal a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner format. Typically the caloric allowance is like 2,000 to 2,500. If you take that into consideration, that there are people coming into this country who eat 1 meal a day, maybe, and other people who come into this country who don't eat all day or who engage in, various substance abuses for the purpose of, appetite control or other issues. I want to know from an FDA perspective, are we eating to pay the bills? Are we eating because it is actually deemed to be the healthiest option for our physical bodies? Are we eating because it is the healthiest budget and way to pour back into, well, if everyone pays $300 back into this, we could reroute it for this and this and that. I want to know, what is the expectation for FDA food guidelines in 2026, where we are right now, because I have been eating 1 meal a day and I have been feeling fabulous in doing so. I've also been getting a lot thinner. I like that. I do not want to look like a big, fat, gross. Hold on one second. you know, immobilized, having trouble walking, pain in the knees, pain in the hips, you know, folds and rolls. That is not desirable. That is not pretty. That is not comfortable. That is not easy to carry. As a person who has been 200 pounds before, fat is not easy to carry. It is no good. And so I want to know, moving forward in my career, whether it's wellness, healthcare, personal training, what is my country going on record as you know, saying is the best option for us? How do we structure our diets, and what is the best thing for us to do with regards to eating? I personally was taught that eating meat is good. We are supposed to eat meat with every single meal, whether it's a steak or a chicken breast or you know, you name it. I don't know that that is acceptable as a guideline currently. I don't know that that is acceptable as a path currently. And so, you know, we need to figure that out. And if my team could get to work on some truth finding, because let me tell you this, my in-laws, they would come here and they would already be here, and they would cook a huge pot of rice with a tomato, an onion, garlic, a jalapeno, and they would cook the rice, and then they would cook like chicken, a whole chicken, and add in a couple potatoes, and the whole family would like take a bowl whenever they had time, and that would be what they ate that day. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would cook one meal and have one really balanced, healthy meal and put it on the stovetop, and that would be what they ate. So, yeah, you know, I think that that is really the best option. And I think that moving forward, you know, things should be handled appropriately in a truth providing way, because we have people here who do not have the desire to spend 1/3 of their paychecks on food. And if we are doing so, and it is actually causing us to gain weight, to move around slower, to have more stress and discomfort on our bones and our joints and our et cetera and so forth, you know, then that is a problem. So I would like to be updated by the FDA directly. If you could please get in touch with my team, maybe the White House, maybe President Donald Trump would like to get involved. You know, we would like to know. Now, back to the keto thing. So we have multiple fad diets that have been a thing over the years. We have the keto, Keto diet, which is typically as much cheese and as much meat as you want, but no potatoes and no bread. That sounds so fucking dumb to me. Please let me stop saying swear words, please. That sounds so stupid to me, okay? Bread, you need bread. Like, what the fuck? Who doesn't love bread? You need bread. Bread is great. You need it. Bread, think about subcontext, you guys. Don't let them fucking make you listen. You've got to listen, okay? Bread. You need bread. I was told by a wise man one time, and this is the God's honest truth. If you go broke and you don't know what the fuck to do, you're scared that you're going to starve, you're going to die, eat one potato a day. One potato. You could get a potato for 50 fucking cents. I don't care if you eat it raw. Eat one potato a day. The skin in a potato is iron rich, mineral rich, and nutritious, has every vitamin that you need. There's been a lot of opposition to this argument. A lot of people have said, no, don't eat potatoes. It's an unhealthy starch. It'll make it so that you're clogged up or this or that. I myself have always eaten a small lean meat, a small red potato, and then a vegetable. And I'm pretty fucking healthy, you know, if you ask me. I'm going on 40 years old. I've got a full, thick head of hair. My nails grow like weeds. You know, my skin is strong and clear. And the same with my father. My father's 60 or something years old. He's got a beard down to his belly button. He just had cancer because he was smoking cigarettes all the time. And he had cancer in his lower jaw. He had to have his lower jaw removed. And he had to have it rebuilt with bone from his femur. They pulled every single one of his teeth from his lower jaw. He's getting these posts installed so that they could put an entire piece on the bottom. And I don't know, you guys, I gotta tell you, it's seeming like that diet structure is legit, because apart from that cigarette induced cancer, I don't really have anything wrong with me, and neither does anyone in my family line. We're pretty fucking healthy, you know? So I think that there's some truth to that with regards to the potato. But please, who's heard that heart disease is the leading killer? Who's heard that? Heart disease is the leading killer in our demographic. Who's heard that? Heart disease. Okay, so if heart disease is the leading killer in our demographic, right? Why in the heck would anyone think it were appropriate to have red meat and cheese every meal as much as they want? That sounds like a heart attack. I'm just saying. So even if there is no literal context to the shove your mouth full of meat and have as much cheese as you want, meaning rats eat cheese and whoever eats meat, you know, for no money type shit. Listen, I don't know if it's true. I'm just communicating what they've said. And I want you guys to know that on my line, if you go back to the My Brand Is Not For Sale, you can hear in my voice all of the way I morally and ethically relate. They've taken my identity and my character and pulled it so far left. I would never even speak on these topics. These topics and speaking on these topics, in my opinion and from my frame of reference, will disqualify me from being taken seriously in a lot of different business forums. So in an effort to kind of mitigate that, if you understand, if you know, and if you understand the technology that's being used to cause people to speak about shit that they don't have any interest in or want to talk about, say swear words when they don't usually swear, they're definitely on that with me. So if anyone could step in, that'd be great. But that is true, though, about the keto. And then for intermittent fasting, hold on one second, you guys. I'll be right back.